Hey there, class, teacher. I'm Ethan Kaufman. And today, we will be talking about iconic journalist
Fred W. Friendly.
Thanks, Google. Now. Friendly was born on October 30th, 1915. Birth name Ferdinand Friendly Wackenheimer, which happens to be the greatest name ever. Oh, we're rolling? Okay. Now, I want to be honest here, because I think that's, it's very important, in today's world, today's current climate. I only chose Mr. Friendly because of his name. It was warm, it was inviting, and yeah, that might be a weak reason, to choose someone for a school presentation, but in doing the research, I actually found that this man, he has a life worth talking about. And I think the best course of action in this case is to just get into it. So, let's do that. Fred Friendly was born to a Jewish family and lived in New York City. A real Jew-Yorker, if you will. Puns! The family moved to Providence, Rhode Island, and Friendly graduated from Hope Street High School in 1933, then from Nichols Junior College in 1936 with an associate's degree. He did a funky switcheroo with his name before going into radio broadcasting a year later. With World War II at the forefront of, well, the world, Friendly became an instructor for the U.S. Army's Signal Corps. This led to him covering the Pacific theater of the war as a newspaper reporter. He developed his radio skills throughout the 1940s and eventually came to work with Edward R. Murrow on an album titled I Can Hear It Now for Columbia Records.
A scrapbook of sounds from 13 years of violence and achievement.
It used radio news segments and speech recordings to tell the story of the war. He also worked for NBC and came up with the idea for a news-based quiz game show type thing, Who Said That?, where he served as the editor. Friendly's time at NBC led to The Quick and the Dead, another radio program which covered the development of the atomic bomb. It became a success, and with his other successes at NBC, that leads us into... Friendly was doing very well at NBC, so he of course jumped at the opportunity to work full-time at CBS. I have been rocked to my core. No one could have seen this coming. One of the greatest plot twists. I don't know what's gonna happen now. That's how you subvert expectations. Anyway, he collaborated with Ed Murrow again to make the radio docuseries Hear It Now, which jumped to television screens in '51 under a new title of See It Now, because, well, TV. They worked on CBS Reports, Friendly the executive producer. Their most famous episode, which covered the struggles of migrant farm workers.
These are the forgotten people, the underprotected, the undereducated, the underclothed, the underfed.
Aired in November 1960 and is still praised today. Murrow left the network shortly after, but Friendly stayed on to continue CBS Reports. However, he frequently ran into conflict with then-producer James T. Aubrey, who wanted to cut news programming in favor of entertainment. This sparked a death battle, Friendly versus Aubrey, which ended when Aubrey was fired in 1965. Friendly would go on to become president of CBS News, but only until the following year.
Why don't you sit down here? Oh, yes, you sit down too, baby.
Well, you sit down on my lap. Give me some cover!
Friendly handed in a letter of resignation when CBS programming execs chose to rerun an episode of the sitcom I Love Lucy instead of broadcasting the first U.S. Senate hearings to examine the nation's role in the Vietnam War. A year after the fact, Friendly had this to say on their decision.
Television makes so much at its worst that it can't afford to do its best.
After his days at CBS, Friendly worked at the Ford Foundation under the title of broadcast consultant. He also became one of the key individuals in the founding of the Public Broadcasting Service, PBS. Additionally, he worked as a faculty member at the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. Using his positions at both PBS and Columbia, he pitched another show. It would mix the informative insight of broadcast news with the discussion format of his classes as a professor, ultimately becoming Fred Friendly Seminars.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking this is a problem.
which began airing on PBS in 1981, 2 years after his retirement from teaching. However, there is one thing I forgot to mention, but for that we'll have to go back to 1968. In 1968, Friendly reached out to cable TV networks with a proposal. Give local citizens the opportunity to, for little to no cost, create their own broadcast content to be streamed through specialty cable channels, made available by the networks. These were the building blocks of public access television, and Fred Friendly was truly the concept's leading pioneer. But what impact does this have on journalism, on the world today?
Why in the heck does this matter?
Well, let me tell you.